Hi, everybody. Welcome back. This is our third episode. The flavor that we're going to speak about today is sour. It's related to the wood element and associated with the liver and gallbladder channels. This flavor, sour, is a little bit hard to describe in the sense that we're talking about an energetic quality. It generally means it's a sort of a cooling and contracting flavor that quickens our energy. And so today's recipe by Chef Phil is a Pisco Sour and a citrus ceviche, both usually eaten in the height of summer when we're sort of bogged down and overheated. A quick Pisco Sour, a quick ceviche sort of astringes our flavors. It wakes us up and gives us that quick energy. And that is the energy of the sour element in Chinese medical theory. So let me first introduce everyone again. We first have Chef Phil. And then next to Chef Phil is Ashley, who is a holistic nutritional coach and educator.
Hi, Leah. So glad to be back today.
So glad to have you. And then joining us as our guest is our friend Veronica, who is a graphic designer and also a triathlon athlete.
Hi, Leah.
Hi, everyone. So take it away, Chef Phil.
Well, good morning, everyone. Pleasure to have you back here in my kitchen. So today, the sour element that we're going to make is two items. We're going to do a cocktail, but first I'm going to do a ceviche. And ceviche is classically ceviche from South America, is normally made with a lime juice, sometimes what they call a lemon juice or limon verde. And the citrus acid from the lime cooks the fish. So it's a way of cooking, a process of cooking. So let me show you what we're going to do. I have some made already because it takes anywhere from 45 minutes up to 2 hours, depending on the thickness of your fish, the type of fish that you're using. Generally a white fish. It is made with shrimp sometimes. It's made with scallops. I tend to make it more with a white flesh fish. This happens to be a bass and a nice fillet of black bass. So what I do is I normally cut my fish very thin, and it's probably about, I'm going to say about 1/4 of an inch thick. And we take that, and the first thing we do is we marinate it with the citrus juice. I chose today to do grapefruit juice because we're not doing a typical classical ceviche with the lime, but I would rather do it with the grapefruit, and I chose a pink grapefruit or a ruby red grapefruit because that gives a touch of sweetness. So if you're not used to eating a ceviche, this might be a good way to start learning how to eat a ceviche. And basically, I just throw the juice over your fish, and then I always put some crushed red pepper on the fish, a little bit of black pepper, because you want a little bit of a heat element, and some sea salt. And these are the 4 individual seasonings that you use to start off the ceviche. 45 minutes later to an hour, depending again on the fish, I marinated this particular fish in a Ziploc bag because it's easy for you to do it at home like this, rather than have a bowl in the refrigerator. And so this is marinating since about, I'm going to say about 9 o'clock this morning. So just about 2 hours. I'm going to just strain it, get the juice.
So Veronica, what's your memory of ceviche? Did you grow up eating it?
Sorry, I had to unmute myself. Yes, I did grow up eating it. I'm more used to the classic, which is what Chef was mentioning earlier. So it's more like the true lime, we call lemon. You know, but it's just your lime to the fish and with a little bit of salt and pepper, and you let it marinate. And he's right, 45 minutes to a couple hours. It really depends on the fish. And then in your presentation, you have the corn, which is the kernels are a little bit big. You might do a little bit of shredded. It's not shredded, but like really finely cut red onion, which you can also put with the lime separately, and that kind of pickles it a little bit. And then you do a sweet potato and a leaf of a lettuce. So there's like a whole presentation that comes with it. But it's really, really, it's more of a summer, like a warmer weather, and it's along the coastline. So that really comes from the coastline. You wouldn't find it. I mean, you can still find it in the mountains, but not as much. And there are some variations as well. Like if you go to the northern part of Peru, there might be a slightly different ways that they would do it. And there's always takes. And then you would drink it, like I remember having it like in going to the beach and having like a beer or Pisco Sour. You just have, it's just part of that. It's very, lime is a big part of Peruvian cuisine, especially along the coast. So yes, I have lots of
It's interesting because my memory of ceviche was in college. I'd never grew up with it. I never even heard of it. My experience of raw fish is the way that you do it in Asia, right? With like wasabi or a vinegar and a soy sauce. So, being introduced to a ceviche was very interesting, and the marriage feel of the soft tissue of the fish and then the acid of the lime was so intriguing to me. And it made me realize that this was also a way in which we nourish the liver organ, right? The sour foods help in, again, digestion. And it's these sorts of acids that actually also help protect and heighten the function of the liver organ. Could you speak a little to that, Ashley, sort of from a nutritional background?
Yeah, so I love that he's using the grapefruit here, which is a great option. It's still in the citrus sour flavor, but it has that sweetness. And grapefruit specifically has been known to have a great amount of benefits on liver and detoxification, as well as immune boosting. And it also helps with regulating our insulin levels and balancing out the insulin and intake of sugars in our body. So a lot of people that might struggle with insulin resistance or trouble with controlling their appetite, grapefruit can be another one. You may have remembered the grapefruit diet back in the day. I don't recommend eating only grapefruit, but including grapefruit in your diet can really help with stimulating digestion and balancing out your eating patterns in your insulin and sugar levels.
Great. So Chef Phil, what do we got there?
So just to show you when you want to take a look at your fish to see where it's at as far as the cooking process, you want to take the juice out and you want to strain it when your fish is opaque, but yet when you bite into the center, it still has kind of a raw texture to it. Fish does not have a lot of connective tissue, so the citrus acid with this will cook the fish quickly and it will tenderize the fish as well. So here we have it. Our fish is opaque. I chose to do a couple of different garnishes. I have some bell peppers here, tricolor bell pepper, where I'm putting in, just to give it color, because the fish tends to be, it looks bland. So now you want to add items that not only give it a little extra flavor profile, but also gives it color to the dish. I have some cilantro, okay? And just to give you a little tip, all my cilantro stems, I normally save them. I'll put them in the marinade, the initial marinade, because that'll help flavor it as well, so you don't throw away the cilantro stems. And then classically in South America also, you'll find some of the countries, they put a little bit of sweet potato in there. So I have a little sweet potato as well. Again, then what I'll do is I've tasted the fish already. It could use a little bit more salt. And then I throw in a little bit of fat, which is olive oil, a really good olive oil. And I just drizzle that in, because now don't forget, white fish is not a fatty fish, but you want that smooth texture on your palate as well. And the olive oil will provide that. So a little bit of olive oil, and then we mix it around and we'll get a nice colorful dish. Okay. And then we'll taste it again for seasoning. Okay. Got some nice heat, a little bit more salt. Last but not least, I like to take a little bit of the segments of the juice that I actually cooked it in. So I got grapefruit segments. That'll tell you when you're eating this that I actually cooked it with the grapefruit juice. So it's kind of a way to just let your client or your customer know, your guests know that this is what we did.
Phil, I just have a quick question. Which kind of grapefruit are you using? Because I know there's pink and then there's the more yellow.
Oh, red rubies.
You did the red rubies.
Yeah.
Great.
They were very small. I picked them out smaller purposely for the segment size so that the segments wouldn't overpower the ceviche. And now what I do is, what I'm going to do is just show you just a quick way of presenting it on a plate, and then I'll make the Pisco Sour.
So an interesting thing while you're doing that, when you said that it breaks down the ligaments, right, and the soft tissue, that's actually what's happening for us when we're eating things that are sour, and why it's recommended in Oriental medicine for tendons and ligaments. So the liver organ controls our tendons and ligaments according to Chinese medicine, and the sour taste helps by reducing the contraction of the ligaments and tendons. So that's why the sour taste is also related in using for stiffness and contracture in the body.
I have a question. I mean, growing up Peruvian, we tend to put lime or acidity in everything. From it starts with the Pisco Sour. It goes into the chicha morada, which is like another. It's made of purple drink, and you put lime and sugar, and then a ceviche. And there's an update to ceviche called tiradito, which is like it's like long pieces that get marinated. But again, this is all on the coastline. So I tend to, by default, I tend to put lime or lemon. I rarely go with grapefruit, but my question is acidity is a good thing, but how much is too much? What's that balance of like, is it also, if you do too much of it, could it have unintended consequences in your body?
If you just know, as the culinary side, the grapefruit, the pink grapefruit, is not as harsh as a lime or a lemon would be. Because if you soak this fish and you soaked it too long, it'd be your lips are going to pucker when you eat this. Where this is a little bit more gentle, I find. You could also mix your seasonings. You can mix lime, lemon, grapefruit, a little orange. There's a lot of different ways of doing this. So basically, we put avocado is very often served with these. So I would do something like this.
To your question, Veronica, usually food cultures have traditional balances, right? So I think with all of the foods that you would traditionally eat with lots of lemon or lime in your case, you also had foods that were more alkaline, right? Like you had the cornmeals, sweet potatoes. They found a way to create that balance. So I think when you're eating in any food culture, one flavor specifically, there's always been some form of trying to balance out that flavor in the dish in itself, in our taste buds, that also relate to how it would balance in our body. Ashley.
Yeah, and to talk to the nutritional side, you do want to find an alkaline balance in the body. You don't want to go too acidic. They believe that having too much acidity in the body can lead to inflammation. But if you notice, the flavors of sour is so strong. A little goes a long way. So you would rarely break open a lemon or lime and eat it whole. You would take a few slices and use the juice to enhance the flavor and add that variety. But you're also getting a really high dose of vitamin C, antioxidants. Those citrus fruits are really high in nutrients, so you only need a little bit throughout your day to really get the benefits of it versus other foods where you're going to eat a higher amount of something. So in order to balance that, you do want to watch not going a ton of citrus. It can be damaging to the teeth and the enamel, because like that breaking down like of the fish can also happen in the body if we have too much, and it can be kind of burn. Sometimes you feel burn your esophagus, things like that. So you just want to watch that balance of that acidity should really be like the touch, the kind of like squirt on top of, the food and things like that to enhance. And usually naturally, that's why it's so strong. It's really hard to physically eat too much of it because it's so, strong in that flavor.
And also, we got to remember that a lot of this cooking method was to also reduce bacterial load on the food, right? So sometimes it was a little bit easier to just squeeze a lot more lemon just to be sure that you're killing off, you know, whatever it is on that fish that you're trying to eat. So those were like the trade-offs. And now the food culture has moved away from that history, right? So I think you're right, Veronica, in the sense that when you're eating that kinds of food, especially with seafood that has been better decontaminated, maybe you don't need as much lime and lemon, but that's become such a habit of the food culture, right? So I think with knowing these things, that you would find that you would balance these flavors out for your own overall food intake. Let's see your presentation, Bill.
Don't forget also, at the end, when you taste the fish, if you feel it needs a little bit more acidity, you could always add a little squeeze at the end to bring it out. But that's basically what it would look like if you went to a restaurant.
Oh, yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah.
For lunch. So
see, again, I want to drive over and eat this food.
You're going to have to fight Kathy for that, I believe, because she loves ceviche as well.
I know, and Kathy's really strong. I think I'd lose.
So let's make a little an offshoot of a Pisco Sour again. Not classical. Pisco is a white brandy. Okay, it's not cast in barrels, and it's not a dark brandy like we're used to here in the States. So what I did was, again, just to give you a little offshoot and be a little creative, I'm doing more on a vodka style sour where it's going to be a vanilla vodka mixed with a little bit of lime juice and grapefruit juice, but then the rest of the classical elements that go into it. So what you normally do with a Pisco is you put your brandy, this is vanilla vodka, okay, a little bit of simple syrup, and I make my simple syrup with turbinado sugar, so about 1 ounce, and then you want to put your juice in there. Now, if you can see the grapefruit juice, there's a lot of element in it from squeezing the grapefruit juice. So what I normally do is I strain it so that you don't get all that feeling in your mouth. You want a smooth feel in your mouth when you're doing this type of a drink. Okay, so I strain that in there.
Just to interrupt for a second, to Chef, it's Pisco Sour. I mean, you started out with classic, but it's become a thing. I mean, it's become part of the branding of Peru. So now there's all kinds. Like you find coca tea, Pisco Sour. You find passion fruit. You find grapefruit. You find like there's all this like offshoots from the classic, and you can still, obviously the classic is the most popular one, but the bartenders and the chefs, I mean, they're just coming up with all this very interesting different ways.
No different than you go into a restaurant that has margaritas or any type of, even today when you're making old fashions, people are putting their own spin on things.
So far you've put some of the vanilla vodka,
simple syrup, the 2 juices that I married, which were the lime and the grapefruit, and now a little bit of egg white.
And what does the egg white do? Because I think I told you that's the part that always wigs me out.
The egg white creates the foaminess of the Pisco Sour. So, and you want to shake this vigorously because you want that egg white, the air, to really start to really come.
So like you said, it's sort of like creating a meringue in your alcoholic beverage.
Yeah, kind of. You're never going to get to that peak. And don't worry about, people worry about, salmonella or something like that. The alcohol's killed that already. So
well, that and the acid from the juice.
Yeah.
Veronica, maybe once this is done, you can give us the traditional, like, Pisco Sour recipe as well at the end.
And I know when I went to Peru, they would do them in a blender, which would get that egg white to really whip and make it super foamy. And then you always had the option, because there were so many weirded out Americans there, when we would go to the touristy spots, that they would do it without egg white as well. So you could do it without the egg white, and they had that option. Because
what happens is in a blender, when you it starts to emulsify. because of the RPMs in the blender. And when you put two ingredients together that normally are separate, or will separate if you pour them in a glass, you'll be able to help emulsify it in a blender. So now you put your ice, if you want to get it nice and cold. And I got a nice fluted glass we're going to put it in.
Fancy.
When you get that nice and cold, and you pour that in.
Oh, look at that texture. That's actually quite beautiful.
And we should have enough to get to the top. We do, yeah. And now, what you normally do is I'm going to get a pointed knife, really fine point. You normally put a couple of drops. Let's see. You can just, come on. And you just take this.
What is that you just dropped in there?
That is bitters.
Ah.
I love bitters.
You want to swirl it around just to put a little design on the top of the glass.
Let's see.
And there's your Pisco Sour, or this happens to be your vanilla vodka sour.
Wow. Now I really do want to come over.
You know, you want to keep your recipe simple. Ceviche, it's as intricate as it is to capture the flavors. It's rather simple. And if you follow a recipe to the T, you know, I would check the ceviche after about 45 minutes. If the fish is done, boom, put it together. There's also something that you can make for company in an hour or two before they come over. You know, and it's great with some tortilla chips or, you know, things like that, or even homemade potato chips.
Well, that's it. True. Tortilla chips, remember, because of the corn in the tortilla chips, they're usually a little more alkaline, which will balance out with the acidity of the ceviche. So Veronica, what do you think? Can you give us a little critique of the Pisco Sour?
I don't, you didn't use Pisco, right? You used I
used a vanilla vodka.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, so I mean, if you want to get like technical, then really to make it a Pisco Sour, you should be using Pisco. But Pisco sometimes is a little hard to come by depending where you're at. Yeah. So if you're not in a metropolitan area, then you're not going to find it. I feel that that is a good alternative.
And again, we're talking about doing offshoots of classical dishes as well. Experiment, because even though you have a recipe or you want to follow the recipe, sometimes you want to make something, you want to make it your own. So that I encourage you at home, make it your own. Like just switching an ingredient that will work. You can make something your own. And
so So Veronica, I was told a Pisco actually originated in Chile.
By who? Because as far as I know, there's no city of Pisco in Chile, whereas there's the city of Pisco in Peru. Oh my gosh, this is such a big thing. It's like champagne from France and a sparkling espumante or sparkling water. You know, it's just, you can't call it. But I believe that Peru won the rights to call it Pisco through the international court or something like that. I don't know.
Oh, wow.
It's a big thing. Big. Because remember, the branding of the country is based on Pisco is one of the branding elements. So now another country is doing that. So unless it has to be, it would probably have to be treated the same as champagne. You know, or certain things that you can't call it that unless they came from that area. Yeah. So, but no, I mean, the Pisco Sour the chef made is like such a great alternative because you can't always find all the elements. So this is a good way to substitute it and have and especially with the foam, the egg white, the egg white is key. Otherwise, it's just not, it doesn't have that same essence of a Pisco Sour. And I know people get weirded out by it, but there's so many other things that you eat that you should be weirded out by it. And egg white, you know. So especially if you know where it comes from, it's but the egg white and what he did with the shaking is definitely a good way of doing it, especially if you're doing smaller quantities as well. I think people tend to do the blender if you have like 20 people that you have to do it, which makes sense. My family and I did it for my one cousin's wedding. And we had a whole system set up before, so you can't do it like you can't put it in the blender and then drink it like 20 minutes later because the foam will just start. Then the other thing that I love was the bitters. But a trick to it, if you can't find bitters, because I used to live in Ohio and it was like incredibly hard to find things. A way around it is do cinnamon on top, and it gives you the same look, though it's slightly different flavor. But that was a trick that my parents, I don't know where they got that from, but if you can't find bitters, doing like sprinkling a little bit of cinnamon at the top, kind of gives you that same vibe. So
there's
I don't
so
know if
many
Chef has
things
another
like
suggestion.
Absolutely. And also, I mean, people today, a lot of our bartenders, calling mixologists, who are so premier these days, they'll dry out limes. They'll dip it in a simple syrup and dry it overnight in an oven so you have a crispy lime to put in there. Or they'll dry out zest and make a powder in a spice grinder, and you can put a little powder on top as well. There's so many elements you can decorate with.
That's true. And again, the egg whites, which used to wig me out as well, it dawned on me. Yeah, the alcohol and the citrus juice is going to kill whatever possibly could be floating around in egg whites. So looking at how beautifully it frothed up, I think I can now, Veronica, have a Pisco Sour.
We should all have them. Maybe they kill Corona. You never know.
Yeah, maybe. Right? I promote this. So this looks amazing. And, you know, Veronica, thank you for clearing the air about the Chile-Peruvian, you know, dispute on Pisco Sour. And again, you know, sour flavor is such an important flavor that I think sometimes gets overlooked. It's such an invigorating flavor. It's a flavor that also sort of gobsmacks you and makes you present in the moment, right? It's also a flavor that is also very, as I said, contracting and collecting, which is such a great way to sort of calm our energies down after a hot day, you know, doing work or being on the beach. It's a way to wind ourselves back internally, which is sort of the opposite of the wood energy, which is to move upward and outward. So when we say that the element of wood is benefited by its sour taste, that's what it's doing. It's trying to balance out that overactive outward reaching by cooling and collecting and contracting, and therefore being able to give us quickened energy again. So thank you again for making such incredible and very jealous, noteworthy meal there, Chef Phil. I think I can see Kathy salivating in the corner back there. And thank you, Veronica, for being our Peruvian expert and joining us today. And Ashley, thank you again for providing always such great information about the foods that we're learning to make, and watch Chef Phil really just bring out such great energy and doing for us.
Yeah, I love how Chef Phil's recipes can be so simple and so nutritious by just going down to the basics. Just really sticking to healthy fishes, healthy fats, a good variety of vegetables in there, and then that citrus flavor just brings it all together. I can't wait to make this.
Yeah, I almost want to like reach into the laptop and just like, you know, open my mouth and grab it or something.
And just remember a tip. Before you think it might need more salt in the dish that you make, sometimes it just needs a little acid. Yep. And the acid will wake up the other flavors in your dish.
That's true. I think sometimes we just make it and think it's going to be perfect instead of just waiting for things to marinate and contribute to each other and bring out hidden flavors. So I think I just keep staring at that thing, thinking like, God damn it, why can't I have some right now?
Time to make it. Time
I
to
know. Veronica,
I want to have a Pisco Sour.
Can you make one for today?
Pisco Sour.
It's a beautiful day. I think everyone today should make a Pisco Sour.
If this was later.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Listen, if it was later in the day, I would have joined you guys with one. So.
Well, it's 12 o'clock here.
I know. I think it's time for a Pisco Sour. Well,
Perfect.
thank you everybody so much for joining our episode again. Veronica, thank you again. Chef Phil, Ashley, always thank you for
Thank
making
you.
it
It was
so
so much fun.
informative and entertaining. And I can't wait to do this again for our next episode.
Fantastic.
Oh, wait, hold on.
You.
You got to talk, Leah, so they can see it.
Oh, right. Sorry. Soul Garden Health, Ashley, Chef Phil, and our Veronica can be reached on our email. She's an incredible graphic designer and illustrator.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Take care. Have a great day.